folks, Sarah Goodman here, Museum Educator at Drakewell Museum and Park, and today I'm coming to you from the caretaker's house on the grounds of the museum. As you know, Drakewell Museum and Park is the birthplace of the modern petroleum industry, and thanks to the Drakewell, there's a drop of oil and gas in your life every day. But I'm not here to tell you about the history. I'm here to have you help me solve a mystery, and that mystery is, what is this? This item comes to us today from the museum's collection, and it comes from a very special collection. It's known as the For-Use Collection. The For-Use Collection is a collection of objects that we are allowed to handle and touch and feel and show visitors so that we can educate visitors about the life and times of people in the oil region in the 19th, 20th, and 21st century. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to give you a brief description of this object, and then I'm going to show you 3 ways to use this object, and you have to figure out what is the correct way to use this object, and therefore we'll figure out what this object is. So let me start by telling you a little bit about the object. First of all, this object is quite heavy. It probably weighs as much as 2 gallons of milk. That's pretty heavy if you ever have carried milk around the grocery store. And this object is made of metal. It's actually made of iron, and it was made in a foundry, probably by a blacksmith. And this object is one solid piece, but it does have a lid on the top, and it also has a handle. Okay, so I'll pick it up here and I'll show you a little bit. So the question is, what is this? Well, let's figure this out. I'll show you 3 ways to use the object, and you will figure out what is the correct way. So the first way that I think this object was used is that this was used as an oil can. That what they would do in the early 20th century and the late 19th century is that they would fill this with crude oil, put the lid on it, and it was used to store crude oil, and then when they needed the crude oil, they could easily pour the crude oil onto whatever they needed the oil on, maybe to lubricate machinery. And instead of having to put it down and turn it around, they could just simply pour from the other side too. By having 2 spouts, it allowed the oil to flow easier out of the spouts. So my first guess is that this was used to store oil and then lubricate machinery, using the 2 spouts to pour the crude oil out to lubricate the machines. So that's guess number 1. Guess number 2 is that this has nothing to do with oil. That this is actually a tea kettle. That's right. What you would do is you would place water in here, and of course you have to boil water to make tea. So they would fill this with water and place it on the stove and await the water to boil. Once the water had come to a boil, this tea kettle was made for someone who is left-handed or right-handed, and they could easily pour the boiled water into a teapot to serve tea in a teacup like this. So this is a tea kettle to boil water to be put in a teapot to fill a teacup. So that's guess number 2, tea kettle. Guess number 3, well, I think it was used for oil again. I think what they would do is they would take the lid off, fill this with crude oil, place the lid back on, and then use the handle to hang it from a hook, and I think they would light it. I think what they would do is that they would maybe put some string in here or maybe a wick, and they would light those wicks, and this could be a lantern, so that they would have light to see what they're doing when they worked. So guess number 3 is that this is a lantern. Which way do you think is the correct way to use this? What is this? I'll give you a second to think. What is it? Is it an oil can for lubricating machinery? Is it a tea kettle? Or is it a lantern? Are you ready? I know you know what it is. Well, guess what? It is a lantern. This is called a yellow dog. And what they would do is they would take the lid off, fill it with crude oil, and in the spouts here, they would place what's called a wick, which is rope. These wicks would absorb the crude oil in the pot and come up into the wick and make the wick nice and oily. They would then light the wicks on fire, and that would produce a nice glowing light. Now, the reason they called it a yellow dog is because when this burned at night, the 2 glowing wicks look like the eyes of a dog at night. When light reflects a dog's eyes, the dog's eyes look like they glow. So people said that it looked like the dog's eyes glowing. So the yellow eyes of a dog. So this is a yellow dog or a lantern. I hope you guessed right. I know you did. I hope you enjoyed this What Is It? Join us again for another episode of What Is It? Hope to see you soon at Drakewell Museum and Park, where you can help me solve more mysteries of what is it. I have a lot of stuff on my shelves that I just don't know what it is, and I know you can help me figure out. Thanks so much for joining us. Bye-bye.